If you have followed the pulse of the Southeast closely, you would agree that something unusual happened the moment the sit-at-home order began to weaken. Streets that were once silent slowly found their voices again. Markets reopened with caution, schools resumed, and transporters tested the roads. Many asked the same question in hushed tones. What really changed? Behind the scenes, moves were being made calculated, controversial, and strategic. And whether you support Governor Soludo or not, there are actions his government took that reshaped the environment and forced a rethink, even from a prison cell. This is not propaganda. This is not hate. This is a deep look at realities many prefer not to discuss. Let's start from number 5. 5. He changed the narrative from force to governance. For years, the sit-at-home order survived on anger, raw, emotional, and unresolved anger. Each Monday shutdown was framed as resistance, a cry against injustice, and a reminder that Nnamdi Kanu's detention symbolized a wider marginalization of the Igbo people. Previous state responses leaned heavily on force, which only hardened positions and fueled defiance. Soludo chose a different path. Instead of declaring war on the sentiment behind sit-at-home, he acknowledged it. His public tone shifted the conversation from threats and ultimatums to governance and responsibility. He spoke less about crushing agitators and more about the cost to ordinary Igbo people. Traders losing capital, students missing classes, patients unable to reach hospitals. This reframing mattered. When a movement begins to lose moral clarity, when its actions harm the same people it claims to defend, its legitimacy starts to crack. From prison, Nnamdi Kanu has always positioned himself as a defender of the Igbo masses, not their tormentor. Soludo's narrative forced a difficult question: who benefits from prolonged shutdowns? That question planted doubt, and doubt is powerful. 4. He quietly engaged traditional and community power structures. One mistake many analysts make is thinking power in Igboland flows only from political offices or radio broadcasts. In reality, the Southeast runs on layered authority: traditional rulers, town unions, market leaders, youth associations, church networks, and diaspora influencers. Soludo understood this terrain. Rather than making loud, televised announcements, his administration began quiet consultations. Igwe councils were engaged. Presidents general of town unions were briefed. Market associations were empowered to speak up. Clergy were encouraged to preach peace, productivity, and the sanctity of life. These were not random meetings. They created a grassroots counterweight to the fear-driven enforcement of sit-at-home. When enforcement agents threatened violence, communities increasingly pushed back, not in support of the government, but in defense of their own survival. From detention, Nnamdi Kanu may command influence, but he also understands Igbo political culture. When elders speak with one voice, when communities begin rejecting fear, a movement must reassess its tactics or risk losing relevance. 3. He exposed the criminal hijack of the sit-at-home order. This is the most uncomfortable truth. Over time, the sit-at-home order stopped being purely ideological. Criminal elements infiltrated it. What began as civil disobedience became an excuse for extortion, arson, and targeted killings. Unknown gunmen enforced compliance not with persuasion, but with bullets and fire. Soludo did what others avoided: he named the problem. His government consistently distinguished between legitimate agitation and criminal opportunism. By doing so, he separated Nnamdi Kanu's original message from the chaos unfolding on the ground. This distinction was critical, because once the sit-at-home order became associated with the burning of buses, killing of drivers, and destruction of markets, it stopped serving the image Kanu wanted. International sympathy weakened, diaspora support became conflicted, the moral high ground eroded. Reports filtering into detention, through lawyers, visitors, and intelligence channels, painted a grim picture. The order was no longer controlled, and innocent Igbo lives were paying the price. At that point, silence becomes complicity. 2. He backed words with strategic security reforms. Unlike previous administrations that relied on sporadic military deployments, Soludo focused on intelligence-led security reforms. Surveillance increased. Coordination between local vigilantes and formal security agencies improved. Economic hotspots received targeted protection. This didn't eliminate violence overnight, but it disrupted the enforcement machinery behind sit-at-home. When enforcers realize the environment has changed, when roads are no longer free hunting grounds, when communities report suspicious movements, when intelligence leaks dry up, compliance weakens. Importantly, Soludo avoided making security a spectacle. No daily press theatrics, no chest beating, just quiet, methodical pressure. From prison, Kanu would have seen the trend lines. A sit-at-home order that cannot be enforced without massacring the very people it claims to defend becomes politically unsustainable. At that point, a recalibration is not surrender, it is survival.
1. He forced a strategic choice: symbolism or the people. This is the core of it all. Soludo's actions cornered the movement into a painful dilemma. Continue sit-at-home as a symbol of resistance, or protect the economic, educational, and social future of the Igbo people. For Nnamdi Kanu, whose legitimacy rests on claiming to speak for his people, this choice mattered deeply. A leader loses authority the moment his actions are seen as destroying the same population he claims to liberate. By steadily restoring normal life, not through brute force, but through governance, dialogue, and exposure, Soludo made the cost of sit-at-home too visible to ignore. Canceling or softening the order became the only way to retain moral relevance. What this really means for Biafra and the Southeast. This moment is bigger than Soludo, bigger than Kanu, bigger than sit-at-home. It reveals a hard truth Biafrans must confront. Strategy matters as much as passion. Suffering alone does not produce freedom. Discipline, clarity, and protection of one's people do. The Southeast cannot afford endless shutdowns while the rest of Nigeria moves on, nor can it afford to dismiss genuine grievances as mere criminality. The future lies in intelligent resistance, accountable leadership, and community-centered action. If anything, this episode shows that even from prison, leadership evolves when reality becomes undeniable. The question now is not who won. The real question is, what comes next, and will the lessons be learned? Because history is watching and the people are tired.